Hey Tom, how are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. Nice to see you, Jacob.
You too. Hey Tom, so what's the city of Invercargill doing to support community service projects?
Yeah. So look, we have a community wellbeing fund, which is $500,000, and we use that to put into relatively small projects around the place because I think the days of volunteerism, and I know student volunteer armies are a bit of an exception, but there's actually less volunteers than there used to be. And to try to make events happen, actually the city needs to put a little bit of money into them to get them going. So we do that, and I mean we help in all sorts of ways. We've got a department that supports that kind of stuff, and councillors try to. But the reality is that for a lot of projects, $100 or a couple of $100 can make a big difference.
Yes.
So we've got a fund, $500,000 a year that we put into all those projects to, just to try to kickstart them, I suppose you would say.
Yeah. So what does the council do to support them?
So, well, I think the main thing at council, if you mean council in terms of councillors,
Yes.
is to go to them, because councillors. Here's a surprise for you, Jacob. Councillors are not beloved of their communities, right? So, but they like to see their councillors. People like to see their leaders. So, if you've got an event, and I go to probably 5 events a week. If there's an event and I go or another councillor goes, and even if we only speak for a minute, even if we don't speak at all, if we just mingle,
Yeah.
then that actually does make a difference. People like to see councillors in the community.
Yes. So what do you think the impact Invercargill has for community service projects and volunteers out there?
Well, look, I think the whole requirement for volunteers is becoming a lot more important than it used to be. Invercargill had one declaration of emergency in 1984. It did not have another one for 40 years, right? But the reality is, if you look at New Zealand as a whole, there are a lot more declarations of emergency than there used to be.
Yes.
With far more incidents, the weather's changing, climate change is, as a result of that, we've got more storms and they're causing more damage. And the need to be able to muster numbers of people quickly to help out in that situation is really, really important. And certainly when, we had the storm event in October last year in Invercargill that you were deeply involved with. The student volunteer army were absolutely fantastic. It's not only the work that they do, and I remember saying this to you at the time, it's not only the work that they do, Jason, but it's the fact that people know that there's young people going to come and help them. That makes people feel better.
It does.
About the whole, and that actually is as big a contribution as the actual, hammering and pulling and lifting that you guys do. Really, really important. But just lifting the morale of the community by seeing the student volunteer army out there helping makes a big, big difference.
It is. So, Tom, what was the first time you actually heard of us, the student volunteer army?
Oh, I think like many people, it was after the Christchurch earthquake.
Yes.
Because I think that's when it was invented, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. So I was aware of the student volunteer army, but I was not really aware of what you were doing in Invercargill until the storm struck, and then all of a sudden, you had a lot of people out there helping, and then as I started to talk to those, I found you were doing a lot of other stuff too, that was flying under my radar. I was not really aware of it, but it's really hard nowadays to get volunteers for things. If you talk to any of the organisations like the Red Cross and St John's and people who rely on volunteers, they find it really hard to get them.
Yes.
So starting young people into volunteerism, young enough that they just get used to it, and they actually, like I know you are, once you've done it for a little while, you get involved in other stuff.
Yes.
Right? And that's absolutely invaluable, because we really need those volunteers. Volunteer fire brigade, all those, they need people who are prepared to give their time. And the student volunteer army is a great starting place for people for what might be a lifetime,
Yes.
career in volunteerism.
Yes. Well, thank you, Tom. We just want to give a huge thank you for your support, and also for the Invercargill City Council too. They have been awesome supporting us. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you, and thank you, Jacob, and your team, because
You're welcome.
you did a wonderful job.